morning, everyone. Thanks for joining our podcast on demystifying careers, data and artificial intelligence. This is our first podcast from Stimulus Coaching. We are focused on coaching young students on higher education and career selection. I'd like to welcome our panel members for today. It's Seçkin Tataroglu, who is a practicing data scientist and has graduated from the University of Leicester, and Adam Arigi, who is a staffing and talent specialist in the field of data science, and he's the founder of Go. So welcome, both of you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Okay. Thanks for the invitation.
Right. Great to have you on board. So we know that there has been a huge growth in artificial intelligence and big data in the last few years, and it continues to grow. Billions of dollars are being poured into this area and is fueling a growth in the number of jobs, in the kinds of opportunities that are emerging for young people and for people who are looking to transition. And I think that really data, that's the multitude of sources of data that are now available, is fueling this revolution as companies are focusing on deriving value from this data. They want to really be able to understand their clients better and offer improved services, products, improve business processes, etc., and become more competitive in the domain. So I'd like to invite any comments from our panel members on the reasons for the explosive growth in this field.
All right. So the main reason, if you ask me, is basically the growth of the technology. So by the last improvements of developments in technology sector, tech sector, we started to record almost every detail we've been doing on the technical machines. So basically, all data collection started from logging, which is the roots of the IT sector, actually. So by they start to looking of that logs, what they do in their databases, in the user experiences, in their internal company settings and everything, they start to think of, why don't we create a model for that? Or why do we spend that much time on this? So this is a big reason why data science became a really big trend recently. It was already there for a long time, but we didn't call it data science. We were calling it statistics. We were calling it mathematics.
Yeah.
Now it's all about data, and people just needed to have someone specifically working on this thing. So another field appeared, which is called data scientists today. This is the new role.
Yes. And do you think that the increase in computing power has given it a bigger push because now they're able to deal with the volume of data that is available and has been available?
That's true. That's true. So basically, in the past, the scientists, not the data scientists, the scientists were trying to find basic models, like simplest one ever. But now, as you said, by the power of the technology, we don't need to do this kind of like specific new innovations. Instead, we can just process all the data we've got. So because we've got this processing power.
So, Adam, have you, in your years of experience as a recruitment and staffing person, seen an increase or a change in flavor in the kind of recruitments that are happening in this domain in the last couple of years?
Yeah, I'd say one of the biggest changes I've probably noticed is the focus on specific kind of niche talents within or niche applications within data science. So as well as kind of more general machine learning or data science work that I've been doing with what I call large enterprise clients, so just the big name brands in every major industries, we're seeing more and more of a focus on particular areas such as language and computer vision. So a lot of my large enterprise clients who've traditionally had big centralized statistics and data science functions, they're starting to build up smaller niche teams that focus on particular areas. And I'm assuming that again has just come around from technological advancements, improvements in things like cameras, on the computer vision side of that. I think we'll get into that maybe a little bit in the call, the focus on specific niches.
Yeah, and also I think there's also ongoing research in the universities and the tech institutions, and alongside those evolutions, we're seeing the jobs evolve as well, and the demands evolve alongside the research and the investment that's being provided. So it's an evolution, I think, that's happening over the last few years, and new areas are emerging
Very
as
much so.
scientists. Yeah, right. And we have some pretty optimistic job predictions, a number of new jobs that are going to be created out of this area. And the World Economic Forum has predicted that in the next 5 years or so, 16% of the emerging job opportunities will come from data and AI. And of course, there are other areas like engineering, cloud computing, sales and marketing. But this, again, stands out as it's in the top 5 segments. And there are a few roles that are starting, that are emerging here. Of course, data scientist, data engineer, there being an AI specialist and data analyst. So any other roles that you see, that are being called for by these enterprises, or is that largely the set?
I could maybe touch on this a little bit, and I think perhaps Sechin can agree with me. I think the actual work that's been done maybe in the last sort of 3 or 4 years hasn't actually altered that significantly, but how we refer to it and the different sort of job titles that have been dreamt up by employers and even practitioners themselves. I think, a data scientist certainly 10 years ago was a statistician or an analyst. And it's going to take it chronologically. We were working in fields like statistics, analytics, that became called data science, then machine learning, deep learning, AI. And it's important maybe for the audience to understand that the vast majority of the time these are just terms for exactly the same space. So the job titles that I most commonly come across are that they're really all data scientists, but sometimes they'll have titles such as machine learning scientist, computer vision scientist, or natural language processing scientist, machine learning engineer. You really usually can take 2 or 3 of those words, stick them in any order, and you will have a current job title, which I appreciate can be a little bit confusing.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
100% correct. Yeah, really.
Yeah, thank you. All right, and so Sechin, since you're a data scientist, could you talk a bit about what you do and what companies are expecting from you to deliver?
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about my data science experience, which is not actually that much long period. So the whole story started in 2018. I came to the UK to do my master's, and after that, suddenly I found myself in the middle of the whole data science world. Because if you ask me, recently all the business and the universities collaborate on data science, because business people, to be honest, don't have that much technical things, or sorry about that, theoretical things. So they're going for the universities to get some advices. But meanwhile, the university is actually getting some know-how from the business side too. So this is why I found myself in the middle of the data science world. So my first collaboration was with Weatherford, which is an oil consultancy company. So basically, the project that I've been given was creating an AI that can understand if there is an oil underneath the ground or not. If there is, how profitable to extract it. So basically, just if we try to talk on numbers, a normal analyst, like a human analyst, could do the same job in 10 days, whereas the AI we created for this company was doing the same thing in minutes.
Yes,
So,
absolutely. Yeah.
so that was a huge challenge actually for us, because the data was incredibly different than what we've got before, what we've been taught. So the first advice on this call would be the candidates or the data scientists already should think different. So just an example, I worked on sound waves. There are many sound wave algorithms out there, but to solve the problem, I used image processing. So basically, I've transferred all the sound waves to an image file. So I've used image processing algorithms to understand what's going on there, and it worked incredibly. So it is really important to know what we are working on instead of drowning ourselves in the technical details. Simplest is the best every time. Project I got is regarding air pollution in Belfast, because there's a huge harbor there, and these vessels and the trucks are the big reason of the air pollution in Belfast. So as you see, from ground to sky, a data
Yeah.
science is everywhere.
Everywhere. Yeah.
So about the new job roles, I guess climate engineers will be really big area, because people start to collect lots of meteorological data. So they're working on how to make the climate change slower, or how we can adapt ourselves, or how we can optimize the weather to our agricultural production. So these kind of things are actually really basic things on the paper, but these are the main things for a human life. So if you
Yeah.
ask me, the technical business fields are kind of disappearing, and the business life is going to the main side again, like agriculture. It's becoming a trend again.
Yes, that's true. So you know there are predictions that the green economy will also take up or create a lot of jobs and opportunities, because like you said, the climate is impacting our lives and we need to find better ways, more sustainable ways of existence. So the whole thing around climate change, sustainability and green economy is again an area of huge opportunity, and possibly a topic for one of our podcasts later. But thank you so much for your perspective, Sakin. I also wanted to ask you, so in one of these projects, what might be the difference between what the data scientist does and what the data engineer does? Would the data engineer do more of the technical work, laying the pipes for data kind of stuff?
Actually, Adam already mentioned about this. They're all these positions belong to the same ship, but there are slightly different job descriptions actually. Even though mainly they do the same things, but data engineers are slightly on the technical side, like creating the databases, manipulating the structure of the data, or this kind of things, or like pipelines of the data extractions. But data scientists are more on the side of statistics. Like they get the clear data, they process it, they sample it, they apply the proper algorithms. Maybe they
Yeah.
change the algorithms and they get some inferences on that. So they just record it to actually data analyst comes here. Data analyst reports the simplest version of the whole data to the business people.
Right. It's about deriving that insight and the business value for the
Yes,
business.
exactly.
Yeah.
So we can
Yeah.
actually say that like data engineers on the back side, data scientists in the mid, and the data analyst on the front side.
Right. Perfect. And so what are some of the skills in demand, Adam, if you could comment on that based on the requirements that you get from the industry?
Yeah, certainly. So if we're looking at potential budding AI professionals and data scientists, I think it's important, certainly my clients feel it's important to have a very good grounding, just as actually Sechin said, in statistics, or certainly some kind of numerical discipline. There's a couple of ways you could, I guess, approach your studies if you're not yet at university, but I think starting, certainly it needs to be within a STEM subject. And statistics, mathematics, physics, or something like that is a very good place to start. Almost any data scientist that I would work with would have at least a master's degree, or if not a PhD, and then some postdocs. And when undertaking a master's, that can be a good opportunity for you to move into a more computer science related subject. So it could be a master's in data science, computer science, machine learning, or even something more specific like image analysis, which Sechin mentioned in one of his projects. That's a very, very popular area. Just to touch on that briefly, that's used heavily within medical research to do things like identifying cancerous cells and tumors, so we can kind of treat people more effectively. That's a very popular area, but certainly a very strong grounding in a numerical discipline, and then becoming more kind of computer science related and moving into things like programming, which will be a big part of your day-to-day life once you're in the working world. Maybe also a good point to kind of mention for those that are not yet at university or they're maybe doing their undergrads, that there are other things that can be done to kind of build up your CV and your own expertise, your profile, before you get some really live hands-on experience. And all I mean by that is doing things like attending meetups, conferences. You can start your own kind of projects and build up a portfolio of work, perhaps by having a GitHub, something that you can maybe show to would-be employers further down the track. Larger organizations, they take on internships. It's usually kind of seasonal business in the summer between your academic years, and even maybe in your local area there might be startup businesses, just smaller tech business that would look at taking usually free help, but it'd be a very, very good experience for someone that's looking to build a career in this space.
Right. No, absolutely. I agree completely. They have to start preparing as they go along and get industry exposure. Sashkin, would you like to add anything on the skills and how they can build up sort of a portfolio or a presence?
Yes, definitely. Actually, it would be really nice to hear if they hear it from me, because my background is not directly related to numerical science. It was economics. So I used to be a trader actually at an investment bank. And somehow I involved that algorithmic tradings and everything. And I've seen that data science is going to be a new trend. And I just changed my field to data science. So while doing it, actually, self-learning is the main thing. A data scientist should keep himself updated every single day. They have to be really eager to learn new things, new methods, new papers. They have to read about theoretical things. They have to put their fingers into that oil. They have to make it dirty. So this is what I did. Coursera, if you ask me, is the best thing they can start. There are many beginner courses for everyone without any technical backgrounds. This is where I started actually. And there are other meetings and courses, physical courses too. As long as they find a course and as long as they are eager to learn data science, I have no doubt they're going to find the source and they're going to learn it, because there's a huge demand in the sector. As Adam mentioned, actually, as they learn, as they build their GitHub profile, actually they're proving their skills. And of course, if they have a master's degree in related these fields, it would be great. But if they don't, it's not a big deal. There are still huge demands, and employers still requiring really strong GitHub profiles. So, I mean, probably Adam would be agree on this thing too.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, very much so. A master's degree is not always required. It's usually on the wish list for employers. But to be honest, if I'm speaking to a candidate and they can articulate some work that they've done and work that they've taken the initiative to go and carry out in their own time, I think that actually can be even of more value than some theoretical work that could be done. So yeah, I definitely agree with that.
All right, great. So what I'm hearing is really that we need to build on our analytical skills, bit of statistical programming skills, and really be curious about new things happening, new methodologies, and not be scared to experiment and really start taking, small steps to the final destination. And be it Coursera or a formal degree from a university, we need to start somewhere, and that ambition and that focus will take you places. So also I wanted to understand what kind of soft skills are needed, because you are working with a lot of other people. So it cannot just be your technical skills which make you successful here. So collaboration and communication skills, I think, are still very, very important here. So any thoughts on that?
Yeah, definitely agree with that. And that is maybe one area where certain data scientists, certain professionals can sort of stand out as superior to others. I speak to and have met with some people with incredible kind of intellect and research backgrounds, and they're not always able to kind of communicate. They're almost sort of trapped in their own intelligence. So it's all well and good being able to put together a proof of concept or a fantastic product, but it's getting that into production and ultimately being able to speak to other areas of the business that will need to invest in it and will need to promote it. And for them to be able to do that and give it their backing, they need to be able to understand it. So that can be a frustration, I would imagine, of some AI professionals who've produced something really fantastic and they know that it works. Having to communicate with an audience from a different background isn't always easy for everybody. And I think attending conferences, going to meetups and just kind of getting out there and mingling with people of your own kind of background and abilities, but as well as people from sales and marketing and product or whatever it may be, that will really set you in good stead for your career, because you will have to articulate and explain the novel ideas that you've developed.
Right. And Sach, can you add anything to this?
Oh yes, actually it's pretty much the same thing. And meetups are really important. University events are really important because, as I mentioned, business life actually really in touch with universities recently in the UK, I'm talking about. And so they should definitely consider certificate programs of the universities. It's not only about getting a certificate, but also meeting with the new people and professors if possible, because professors are the key roles that connect technical people from academic people from the universities to technical people to business lives. So that would be the best thing they can do, actually.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. It's been a very valuable session, and I'm sure our users will find it useful and take help from here. So I thank you both for your time, and we hope to get you on the next call where we will deep dive further into the skills and how to really go about building your skill set and CV for a career in this field. So we will probably have more people who are practicing data science and listen to their stories of how they got there. So thank you very much for your time today, and we hope to speak to you again.
Perfect. Thank you very much for the invite.
Thank you very much. Thank you both.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye bye.